Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over Splotchmaker's TikTok. I haven't been on it in a while. I don't know why I was weirdly paranoid that I had already responded to this first TikTok, but I guess if I have, then we're going to get a refresh perspective. I don't think I have. I looked. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it.
People love to wonder why fat people talk about being fat all the time. And I think that's a really big misconception because we talk about it a lot because the world talks about it. If the world wasn't so
Okay.
fat focused,
I think that you honestly talk about it because it's probably your most watched stuff. So I think in general, at least in the online world, fat people and people talk about fatness because it's a very interesting topic. It's something very relevant, especially to the moment. And it's something that a lot of people care about, people experience, people have thoughts on it. I really think that it's just a relevant topic. It probably always will be. It probably always has been, honestly. I know that fat acceptance likes to live in this false reality where there's going to be a world where people don't compare bodies or people don't talk about bodies, but that's literally been the entire history of humankind where people do that. And so I think that they talk about it because we always have. We've always talked about people's bodies. That's why. So I think what people are meaning when they ask is, why do you make being fat a part of your identity? To which you're responding, it's because the world is so fat phobic. Okay, then why is it that I'm able to have an identity outside of my weight? Why is it that many fat people have an identity outside of their weight? How is that possible if we're living in the same world? I think that somebody like Splotch, she will do everything in her power to have zero locus of control. She wants to be a victim. Everything in her life is somebody else's fault. And that's what that means. She's one of the most disempowered people I've ever seen in my entire life. And quite frankly, I would never be like her because of that. Like, I can't relate to her. I don't, I'm not that way, at all. So I think it's difficult for me to understand her sometimes because I can sometimes get crap from people who are like, everything is always your choice or everything is always up to you. And I don't necessarily agree with that either. Like, I tend to be more so in the middle with that kind of thing. But in general, something like weight, it is so in your control. Like, it is so you. Okay. And I think that it frustrates me when people try to, say that it isn't at all or that it's a systemic issue. And she's one of the biggest ones that does that, but she doesn't even say that about being fat. She's just saying, I make being fat such a part of my identity because of society. It's like you can't even take responsibility for an aspect of your personality or for an aspect of what you choose to focus on in yourself. You can't even take responsibility for something like that. And that's truly incredible to me. It is. I think it's almost an accomplishment to not be willing to take any responsibility whatsoever for anything in your life at all. I mean, imagine if I told you guys I'm a Swiftie because of systemic oppression, or I'm a Swiftie because of the way society is built. It's like, no, I'm a Swiftie because I like her. I resonate with the music. I've told you guys she has kind of a bitch edge. I do too. She's ambitious. I admire that in her. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I like her. I think she's a talented writer, right? There's all these things, right, that I feel or that I think, but I can take responsibility. I chose to listen to the music. I chose to go to her Red Tour. I chose to go to 1989. I chose to do the stuff. I choose to listen to her music on a daily basis. That's why I'm a Swiftie, because of my actions, right? It's a very basic thing, but I bet you Splotch would probably struggle with saying something like that, even for something as basically unimportant as if you're a Swiftie or not. It's wild. It's totally wild to me. Okay, let's continue.
Phobic, I wouldn't have to be so aware of that as a part of my own identity.
Oh,
We
you wouldn't have to? You wouldn't have to, really? You know what's even crazier is that you still don't have to. You still don't have to make it your entire personality, even with the way the world is. Isn't that wild?
talk about it because we have to, because we're in this era of needing to bring
This
visibility.
era, okay. Like I said, it's always been talked about, babe. They even had freak shows where people who were fat were looked at because they were seen as like, oh my gosh, what a freak. That's always been around, babes. Keep it real. You need to get real.
To fatness in a way that isn't just shitty. This happens a lot to people in groups whose experiences people don't really care about.
I think that fatness is one of the most cared about issues ever. I don't think it's possible to care about this issue more as a society than we already do. So that is one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard in my entire life in regards to this issue. I am truly amazed that somebody can be so unaware of the way the world is going, of current events, of society, that somebody can hold these two conflicting ideas that everybody always talks about fatness, but that nobody cares about fat people's experiences. Like, she literally said that in this same TikTok. You are deeply deluded, Splotch, honestly. I don't even think you see it because you have no self-awareness, and it's truly incredible to me. But honestly, I don't think there's any issue that is more cared about on a universal level than this issue, and then fatness and fat people and all this stuff. Everybody has something to say. Everybody thinks about it. It's been on headline news for the past 40 years. It's been going on. There's been so many studies done on it. I have my criticisms of the studies, but so much has been done for this issue. So that is ridiculous, laughable, ludicrous, so dumb to even try to say that.
More annoyed that we're talking about our experience.
No, people are annoyed that you're lying about your experience. That's why I'm annoyed.
And we're complaining about our experience than the fact that
people are mad that you're complaining because it's up to you to do something about it. And you refuse to do that because you don't want to take any responsibility for anything, ever.
we have so many things to complain about,
Yes.
and we have so many
You have a lot of things to complain about because you're very, very unhealthy, and it makes you miserable and depressed to be obese. That's why. So you're always going to have things to complain about. You will never be pleased. You will never be happy. I promise you that. And you're going to keep going on and on and on. The years are going to go on and on and on. You're going to be miserable and miserable, complaining forever. You're never going to be happy. So that's another aspect too, is when you live life that way, people eventually get sick of it and they don't care about trying to please you anymore. So I try my best to have grace with people just from a strategic standpoint, and also because I want people to show that same grace to me too. It's like, we're all here, we're all living our lives. We need to shoulder our own burdens as much as we can. It doesn't mean that we can't help each other out, but it does mean that we have to put the effort in, especially for our own issues. You have to be trying. Somebody can't help you if you're not willing to try. And that's just a fact.
things in the way of us. Being an anonymous account and commenting fat phobia isn't real doesn't change the very real systemic things we have against us.
But does it change your behavior? Does your behavior do anything against yourself? Does your choice of diet have anything to do with it? Does the amount of calories that you eat have anything to do with it? Do any of these things have anything to do with your experience in life, your size, the physical condition of your body? Are those choices you made, or were they all systemic? Everything is a systemic thing. Splotch is just, she's like a piece of dust in the wind, you know? She goes wherever the winds take her. So I guess she is only doing this, you guys, because this is what people want her to do, apparently. So this is the only reason. So you're telling me, Splotch, that if the system changed at all, then you would say maybe even the exact opposite talking points if the system was different. So are you telling me that if the system changed in a certain way, you could become anti-fat because the system changed? Or do you have any beliefs that you're willing to take responsibility for, or that you're willing to look at and say, hey, I choose to believe this? So you're either telling me you have zero integrity whatsoever and you're just acting upon whatever the algorithm tells you to do, or you're telling me that you're lying, that you know that you have a choice, you know that you're choosing to do something like be fat, and you don't want to own up to it. You want to lie about it and gaslight people about it. I think that one's the more likely of the two.
I want fat people to be able to go to the doctor and get medical care. I want fat people to be able to
They can, for the most part. If you have health insurance, you can. You may be denied certain surgeries, but it's because of safety risk. Because doctors they don't want to be held liable for a safety risk. I know that you exist in a world where everything revolves around you, but there are other people in life and they have to also assess risks, and they should be able to do that. And how horrible would it be if you had a surgery that ended up in injuring you or causing you to lose your life? And even if you personally don't care, what if the other person is held liable for that and they have to live with that? And they could have prevented that by not doing it in the first place. I mean, you're putting yourself at risk for a lot of stuff. So you're making surgeries and things like that more risky, and then you're upset that people are not wanting to do it, and you're claiming discrimination. You discriminated against yourself when you wouldn't try to do anything about your situation long ago. When you tried, but you tried wrong. Do something different. Be willing to change. Be willing to evolve. Be willing to try different things. You're not adventurous. You don't have an adventurous spirit. You don't try for anything in life. You don't try to approach anything in a new way. Everything you do is what somebody else laid out for you. You know? Even the rhetoric you say, it's not really original. Nothing you say is original. Try to use your own brain. Try to think for yourself for once. It might save your life.
Wear what they want in public, and also wear what they want, period. We have something like 80% less options or more compared to people who are thin. We want to go clothes shopping.
Lose the weight. Then you're going to have options. Lose the weight.
Like everyone else. We want to just get groceries.
If you have enough privilege to care about what kind of clothes that you're wearing, then I can assure you have enough privilege to lose the weight. Okay?
Everyone else. We want to do things without them all being a risk, without them all being...
Okay, well, it's a risk to do anything in life. I mean, that is a ridiculous statement to say. Everybody has to take risks for everything. Every time you get into a car, you're taking a risk. Every time you leave the house, you're taking a risk. Even if you stay in the house, you're taking a risk. You never know what could happen. This is an unrealistic, insane standard, which is why I say you will never be pleased. Ever, because you will never live in a world of complete 100% safety and no risk. That is insane to expect. But it does explain a lot about you. I feel like I'm really understanding your mindset.
A call to bullying. If you are not familiar with the fat experience, trust people who are fat when they talk to you about their experience.
Yeah, unless if they don't agree with you, right?
People love to wonder.
So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to do this one now. We're going to look at Disempowered Splotchmaker 2.0. Let's go for Disempowered TikToker.
Body shaming is
so
casual.
Okay.
Body shaming is so casual. They're often cloaked in jokes, so it's harder to call out. For example, I've seen so many videos.
Imagine being so upset about jokes. I mean, my gosh, you have the mindset of a super, super old person. You probably have a body that feels super old too. You can't even handle a joke. You can't even laugh. You have no sense of humor. You can't laugh at yourself. You take yourself seriously, but you don't take yourself seriously enough to lose weight. It's fascinating. This person is fascinating to me.
Videos recently go really viral on this app where
Go ahead and lecture us. Go ahead and lecture us. Yeah, because you're really wise, right?
people are talking about having big backs and they're like stuffing
Ooh, how horrible, how evil. Ooh, you guys, if I put a pillow in my shirt, I'm so evil, I'm so mean because I'm making fun of myself or I'm having fun, I'm laughing with friends over something that's not supposedly, according to fat acceptance, not a big deal, but I guess it is a big deal, right? Because you guys do that all the time.
their back and their stomach, just their entire torso with pillows, and then like hunch walking over to get
Oh,
some food or
oh,
talking about food.
yeah.
This
Yeah, and guess what? I did a video on my channel last week where there's like a fitness guy that wore a fat suit. I took it like a champ. I didn't care. I critiqued his fatness. It wasn't up to my standard. I said it flat out. He's not doing it right. And it's like, have a sense of humor. Get over yourself. Gosh, might help you a bit.
this is at best just body shaming and at
Oh,
worst disordered. Our
oh,
culture
oh, is it? Having a sense of humor is disordered. Making a joke. Get over it.
already really moralizes food and
Oh
body
gosh.
size.
Oh
And
gosh. And what do you moralize? You moralize COVID. You moralize fat acceptance BS. You moralize all this other stuff. What if I don't want to listen to you? What if you're a wet blanket in life and you're boring and sad and miserable and predictable and annoying? What if I don't want to listen to you? I have to for some reason. I have to deal with your moralizing? I don't think so. Not at all. At least if people talk about diet or health or something, it's people working towards something. What are you working towards? What? The only thing I see you working towards is being more and more miserable as time goes on. That's all. That's all. More and more miserable, in more and more pain, more and more negative. Every day, another issue to complain about.
we don't need any more jokes or anything
Oh gosh,
normalizing
heaven forbid we have any jokes about anything. Gosh.
that behavior. This makes people not want to eat. This makes people not want to listen to their bodies. This makes people really ashamed and really self.
Not necessarily. I think if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. You know, people can choose to have a sense of humor. People can choose not to. You choose not to. You want to be boring and miserable and sad all the time. Fine. I'm not going to. I absolutely reject it. I'm not going to be boring and sad and miserable all the time. I've had enough time being boring and sad and miserable. I'm done. I've done my time. You know, most of which is due to issues I had within obesity. I'm done. I'm already done. I'm still obese and I'm done. I'm already getting healthier. I'm moving on. I'm moving on from this rain cloud BS over your head. I don't want to live like you. I would never want to live like you. Who does?
Self-conscious and fuels eating disorders. But then
Okay.
myself
But your content doesn't at all. Because remember, BED doesn't exist, right? So if you try to tell somebody that has BED that there's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing wrong with eating as much as you want all the time, no matter what, even if it doesn't taste good, even if it doesn't feel good, even if you're going to have all these problems, even if you're gaining weight out of control, it doesn't matter. That's not encouraging. That's not encouraging in ED. I would say it is. Absolutely.
and others are the weird ones for calling it out because it was
You're not weird. You're boring. You're boring, unfun, no humor. You take yourself too seriously. I would never hang out with you. That's all. So I don't know if that's you're weird or whatever. I don't know. You know, I wish that your pedestrian mindset wasn't as common as it is. I wouldn't say that it's weird. I just say it's boring and pedestrian and I want nothing to do with it. So I'm naturally not going to hang out with people like you. That's it.
Cloaked in a joke. If you cloak things in humor, it has to be innocent. You just can't take a joke.
You can't. You can't. The thing about humor is it is a little bit of sass. It's a little bit of back and forth. It's a little bit of rousing your berries. It's a little bit of all that stuff. I have friends where we joke with each other. Like me and my friend Eric, we roast each other so much. It can be vicious. Even like I talked to one of my friends who's also a Swiftie. We will roast Taylor together and we have so much fun. We make jokes about her and everything. We love her, but we love to roast her too. It's like, it can be fun. Life can be fun. We can joke about stuff. I can joke about how ridiculous I am in general. I can joke about how ridiculous I am. I can joke about how ridiculous life is, how ridiculous this time is that we're in. Like, I don't think you understand that humor is actually a coping mechanism. And it can be very positive. It can be a way to sublimate negative feelings or awkwardness or get rid of it. It can be something where maybe you feel insecure about your body, so you make a joke about putting a pillow in your shirt and you laugh about it. You make a joke about it. It's like, like me and my friend Eric, like we roast each other about weight. And like, I'll tell him that he's fat. And he's like, I'm fat. And I'm like, you're fat. It's like, because you're fat, and it's like, we just say it all the time. And it's like, if he had any remnant of like a body image issue, it's like we've joked about it so many times that it doesn't sting anymore because you can be desensitized over time. The way that you're living, you're going to be more and more sensitized over more and more things. Like, your life will be so incredibly dull as you paint yourself into a tinier and tinier corner, not just mentally, but also physically. The longer you are, the bigger you are for the longer you are, the worse your life quality will be. So just keep painting yourself in that boring little miserable corner, Splotch. Super boring. Boring. Pedestrian.
This is what people mean when they say, call out body shaming, call out fat phobia, call out all these things as you see it. Sometimes they're not as obvious. Sometimes they're casual and funny.
Yeah,
and
that's hilarious. And we love it. And we think it's funny. We think it's hilarious. I mean, it's the ridiculousness of life. Like, it's just a part of enjoying your life. I know that that's a really, really insane concept for such a small-minded person such as yourself, but there are people who want to enjoy their life.
And quirky and relatable, but that doesn't nullify that they play into and create the systems that we live in. It is actually okay.
Oh gosh. So isn't it interesting that in her mind, the system is individually based, but also like we can't take any blame for anything because of the system? Like, isn't that interesting? That's so weird. So she shames people for their individual behavior for playing a part of a system, but she doesn't shame herself for her individual behavior that leads her weight to be a certain way. It's not very consistent.
And really good to be more critical about the media you consume. It has impact.
I'm very critical. I'm consuming your media and I'm extremely critical. I would say I'm probably one of the most critical people that has watched your content. Bing.
Packs, and you don't have to be a wet blanket.
You literally are one though. So, just saying.
Doesn't have to be labeled any certain way. Inclusivity doesn't have to be bad.
I don't even know what you're saying at this point. Inclusivity of what? A joke? At least try to show an example or something of what you're saying, because you literally just spent all this time about how you have to exclude people or exclude behaviors that have to do with something that you personally don't like. And then at the end, well, inclusivity doesn't have to be this. What does that even mean? What are you even saying? I'm telling you guys, I think it's just like buzzwords that come out of her mouth.
You can make jokes that don't
But
shame.
what if you call out somebody's jokes? What if that's exclusionary? What if that is alienating? Because what if that's how somebody's dealing with something? Or what if that's just how somebody's sense of humor is? Not everybody is nicey nice all the time. You're not even nicey nice all the time. I've seen you make fun of thin women, and that one famous one where she's like, it's embarrassing when you make yourself have roles, and I laugh at you, and I hope that you're embarrassed, and I hope this, and I hope that. That's nasty. So why is it okay for you to be nasty, and it's not okay for anybody else to ever be nasty or ever have fun or ever make a joke? It's ridiculous. You don't live to your own standards. I'm not living to your standard, period.
Food and eating and
Your
already
impossible standards that you criticize everybody else for having an impossible standard. It is not an impossible standard to eat a reasonable amount of calories, to deal with hormonal issues, and to have a balanced diet. That is not an impossible standard. It's just one that you're far too lazy to do. That's it.
marginalized bodies. Body shaming.
Okay. One more. One more. This one. We got
Can
to.
we as a collective now admit that weight?
So this is going to be particularly disgusting to me, as this is so not the case for me. But let's go ahead and listen to her. Let's listen to her spout a bunch of BS. Are you guys ready? Let's go. Woohoo!
Can we as a collective now admit that weight loss is not primarily about health? And
No. Next question.
it's primarily about appearance?
No. Next question.
Like, let's zoom out and think of it.
No. Isn't it funny how life is? How, like, other people have free will and I can just say no? No. Nope. Nope. Isn't that the most magic word? I encourage you guys to say that word to people like this. No. It's wonderful. I can only uplift, sing the praises of saying no. It is a great word.
On a social, cultural level, so many of the videos that go viral online, all the posts,
Oh my gosh, because we totally never live real life at all, right? So we only focus on what's viral online. Okay, it's getting a little touch some grass syndrome here.
IRL.
Which I do remember she had one where she was upset that somebody told her to touch grass, but it's like, that's cringe. That's really cringy to be like, videos that go viral. Do you realize that companies can manipulate what goes viral on their platforms? Do you realize not everything is always organic? Heck, I've got so many Taylor Swift haters that were constantly talking about how inorganic the push for their relationship was last year, which I agree. It totally was inorganic. It was one of the most inorganic things I've ever seen. And I personally didn't like it. Even as a Swiftie, I didn't like it because it's like, I don't want everybody talking about her all the time because people don't like her, you know? And then I get hate for liking her because everybody's having to deal with it all the time. But that's how life is. You are literally taking cues from AI and corporations that you claim to hate. Isn't that hilarious? Literally a robot is controlling her brain, you guys. Isn't that hilarious? It really is.
It's all very appearance-based. It's like, oh my god, do I look thinner? My face is less chubby. You can see less.
Sure. Because they're indications of health, they're indications of progress. Not everybody has access to a freaking blood test every day. Not everybody has access to testing your levels all the time. But people often always talk about like blood pressure, for example. That's usually one of the first things that regulates. It regulated for me around May of 2022. Around that time, it was in spring of 2022. My blood pressure was very high in 2021. But through changing diet, working on my hypothyroidism, my blood pressure got better. And it was one of the first indications that my health was improving, other than the way that I felt, which I healed a lot during that time. But I continue to heal. The more weight I lose, I continue to heal. I continue to get better. I continue to get stronger. It's the beautiful thing to recover from obesity. It's beautiful. I will say it's been one of the wildest adventures to finally just do this, not have the mental health issues or the hypo issues holding me back, and just finally be able to lean in and do it and commit to it completely. It's been such an adventure, honestly. And I love the work that I do. And I'm so grateful that I figured this stuff out for myself and that I can try my best to help others with it. It's just such a beautiful thing. It is. It's beautiful. So, anyways. But that's all just appearance, right? Because if I talk about how my chin is showing up differently in my video yesterday, then that's all I care about, right? That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. I don't ever think about anything else, right? Neither do you guys, right? Never. Never.
Of my double chin, yada yada yada. So many things that are appearances. People saying, I don't care about being
Yeah, because you never hear somebody talk about how their knees don't hurt. But I think in her mind, she just deletes that, right? I'm just going to delete it. By the way, you guys, my knees don't hurt. I should show you guys my knee. I should start an OF and just show you guys my knees, because it's all about appearances. Oh my gosh, scandalous, right? Ooh, because I hear that talked about a lot. I guess I didn't realize that you could start an OF page and show pictures of your knees, because that's all they're talking about. Everybody's talking about their appearance of their knees when they lose weight. Isn't that crazy?
healthy. I don't give a fuck if Ozempic's gonna fuck me up.
Yeah, it's a terrible mindset to have that. It's a terrible, terrible mindset. And I agree with that. Your health should always come first in terms of weight loss. I absolutely agree with that. But I don't agree with her to say you shouldn't lose weight at all. Because part of a health journey when you are super morbidly obese is to lose weight. That's a part of getting your health back. Absolutely.
I just want to be thin. 500,000 likes, like fucking 10,000 comments.
You're watching too much TikTok. You're watching too much short form content. There are other platforms where people can get into more explanations and talk longer. It's easier to just say something online like that. But I agree that it isn't healthy to have that mindset in weight loss. But just say that. Is it that hard? But I don't think that you should be lecturing anybody about health. You don't care about your health. You don't. So just stop.
Like, we really have to stop pretending, okay? We cannot ignore the reality that being smaller comes with so much social privilege and so many social benefits.
There are some, for sure. But I don't think I've gotten that many at this point. I think for me, at this point, it's been almost all physical benefits. I think that social benefits are starting to come, but I think it's because that rain cloud that's circling over your head forever, deep in your obesity, is starting to break away from me. So that just so happens to make people like you a little more when you're a little happier. when you're in a purpose, when you're working towards things, when you have a smile on your face, when you have a flexibility of mind and a creativity. People like those kinds of things. People don't like stuffy, miserable, sad, small-minded, pedestrian, unhumorous, boring people. It's difficult. And obesity, it does weigh you down, not just physically, but also mentally. And you're a really good example of that. So I appreciate you for posting this. I do. Because you show exactly the mindset that I'm so happy to have escaped from. And it is an escape. It is. And I can tell you that I think a lot of the social privileges I may find in the future, it comes from getting out of this mindset. And this mindset comes from obesity. It affects your brain. It's not healthy. There's a cost. And like I said, you're a great example. So thank you.
Because being fat is socially seen as not just unhealthy, take that out of it, as lazy, selfish, unmotivated.
Sure. I mean, I just think that those can be personality traits. Or it can be seen as a personality trait. I don't think it's an inherent part of a person, but if you're tired all the time, then you're going to appear to be lazy. If you're living in a survival state, a flight or fight mode constantly, then you're going to appear selfish because your brain and your body is going to put the focus on yourself because you don't have any resources to have empathy for others or to look at things from other people's point of view. You can only look at it from your own because you're not well. So while I don't personally like the judgment on fat people, I think there needs to be understanding that part of these seeming personality traits are actually pathology in the brain. It's an issue within obesity that you are thinking this way. And if you were to lose weight in a healthful way, which is a balanced diet, slight deficit, lots of activity, you wouldn't have these issues. It would go away. And how do I know? Because it went away for me. I used to be so similar to you. I used to be so negative like you. I used to be boring like you.
Unintelligent, bad.
Unintelligent, it depends on the person. I would say it's true in your case for sure. Bad and ugly, I don't know. I don't know about those. I would say those are, again, it's personality traits. I mean, being super morbidly obese, it's not the most objectively attractive thing. And by that, I mean like the vast majority of people will see you as less attractive if you are morbidly obese or super morbidly obese. I don't personally think it makes somebody completely ugly, but it does take away from your attractiveness, if that makes any sense. It subtracts a bit. Most people would look better if they were of a normal weight because you gain a proximity to health. And also there are personality changes that occur in obesity that make you less attractive. So that's just a fact. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. I know that it's upsetting to hear, but I'm going to say it. So that's why I'm not a fat acceptance person. And I say we need to lose the weight, you guys. You have a whole life that is, you have a whole new mindset coming for you. If you're like her and you got this storm cloud and stuff, if you lose it right and slow, don't rush, don't be psycho about it, then you'll probably feel better. And again, let me know, you guys, in the comments, how did your mental state shift after weight loss? I would love to hear your guys' experiences.
Ugly. That is a non-negligible reality, and we need to stop acting like all the hate that fat people get, people in bigger bodies get, is solely because we want them to be healthy.
I think that we just need to acknowledge as a society that there are more side effects to obesity than just appearance and like blood tests, heart disease, that kind of stuff. It does affect mental health. This is well documented. it affects people mentally as well. So there may be parts of your personality that you think are inherent, or you may have judgment on somebody that's overweight, but it has to do with the pathology and the disease state that their body is in. So we need to acknowledge just how unhealthy it really is to be overweight and to be especially super morbidly obese like Splotchmaker. It's extremely unhealthy. So I think as a society, we have to understand that because it is very trivialized and it is often marked as something that is just appearance, especially within movements like fat acceptance. They say fat is just an appearance. It's not. Fat is so much more than skin deep. Trust me.
And the only reason we don't want to look like them, people don't want to look like me, is because of health.
It's not the only reason, but it is a major reason. It should be the biggest reason you don't want to look like her, because it is a sign of very, very bad health. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye, you guys.